Hi, everyone. We're so happy that you're here, and we're so excited that we have a nice group that is going to participate today. Mia is a senior right now, and I'm going to spotlight you in the video. So I'm really excited to share that Mia is going to discuss her journey from being a 7th grader, rising up, applying to high school, getting into a top high school, what her scholarship journey looked like, what her application journey looked like, and definitely what her testing journey was like. I'm really excited that Mia gets to speak. Something that I'm really just blessed with is I get to watch the kids come full circle. So, here Mia is a few years ago as a student, and she was taking test prep, and she was just killing herself, studying, testing, preparing. And look at where she is today. She's the guest speaker. She's the featured student role model. She's the featured mentor. I mean, this is just such a big deal. I really want to take a moment to just enjoy that, you're part of this journey with us. You were such a stressed out 7th grader like everyone else, 8th grader, testing, prepping, preparing. And here you are now, a senior, applying to the best colleges in the country, in the world. You're attending a top school. You secured a scholarship. I mean, I really just want to say it's really an honor to watch this, to watch you come full circle. And in general, I'm very, grateful that I get to observe these moments. So thank you so much for doing this. And I want everyone to know that Mia is really speaking from the heart. We don't have a script. We didn't rehearse anything. So this is your chance, parents, as I'm opening the admit room. This is your chance to type into the chat. I just want to make sure that there's no sound issue at all. So just type yes. I just want to confirm that we hear you and that there's no issue with sound. So if everyone could please do that. Just quickly type yes into the chat just to make sure that there's no sound issue. And something else that would be great, if you guys want to add any questions that you have for Mia, this is a great opportunity. She'll probably add it later. So, she'll get to it, and she has her own chat box, so she'll be able to see the questions. Just make sure you message everyone. So Mia, thank you so much for doing this. Without further ado, I'm really, really excited that you're able to help us kind of navigate, so you have to go back in history to your 7th grade and 8th grade self and kind of help us understand your journey. Thank you so much. Without further ado, I'm going to mute myself. Bye, guys. Type into the chat. Okay, everyone. As Mia is speaking, please ask her any questions that you have. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Mia, and basically this is just about my journey and how I got scholarships to some of the top Catholic schools. So just to introduce myself a little bit, I currently go to Marymount School of New York. It's one of the top schools in New York. It's an independent school, and it's also a Catholic school. So basically, I started my journey here with Francis, and ever since then, my life is completely turned upside down for the better. I come from an immigrant background, so my parents have some idea of what was going on, but not everything. And that's where Kweller Prep really stepped in and helped me get a handle on applications and applying and testing and all that kind of stuff. So from there, I've gone to work with some New York politicians, and now I'm applying into colleges, which Francis has been helping me with practically for the past month and a half now. And I've really grown up with Kweller Prep, and it's been an honor to be here and work with the team, and I really appreciate everything that Francis and Kweller Prep has done for me. So basically, to start off my journey in Catholic school, I grew up going to Catholic school all my life, K through 12. But in 6th grade, my mother noticed that a lot of the top high schools required a lot of tests For example, you have the SHSAT, which you need to get into the standardized schools, and then you have the CHSEE to get into Long Island Catholic schools, and then you have the TACHS exam and the HSPT. So because of that, my parents decided to invest in Kweller Prep because these tests are extremely important. And I personally believe that if you invest in something now, then you don't have to, pay a lot more later. And because of that, my school, which is $50,000 a year, and which is in total $200,000 in total, is completely free because of the scholarship that I got, the Butler Scholarship. So I took these in 8th grade. I took the CHSCE, the and the ISEE. I also took the SHSAT. I've taken practically every high school exam that there is out there, and because of that, I got a lot of scholarship money, and I was accepted into a lot of schools in the Catholic school, a lot of Catholic schools. And I also got into one of the specialized schools, and that was because of the working with Kweller Prep. The TACHS exam, actually, I personally find that the TACHS exam and the SHSAT are very similar, at least to me. A lot of these exams are very straightforward, and they're kind of the same in the way that they're structured with a math and English section. So I think that because the exams are very similar, it's just about nailing the math section and the English section. And so I feel like Kweller Prep really helped me with that because I wasn't as strong with my math skills, and now I'm a lot stronger. And that's kind of what helped me with the exam. So I feel like that's something that's really important, is just noticing that because there's an English section and because there's a math section, you kind of have to, if you're not good in one, you kind of have to, get better in one of the other sections. So I noticed that I struggled in math, and by coming to Kweller Prep, I really had a handle on math that I never had before. And I wasn't that great of a math student before, but now I'm taking NYU classes in calculus and getting A's. And that's because of the foundation that I got here at Kweller Prep. As Francis added, I will be teaching the SHPT cram session this weekend, so I may see some of you all there, and it's going to be exciting, and it's going to be a great cram course. So in particular, the Marymount scholarship that I have is called the Butler Scholarship, and the way that works is you take an exam, the ISEE, which is for the independent specialized schools. And then from there, you might be asked to take an exam for that specific school. My school had a specific exam, which was the Marymount Butler exam. And because I had trained for the SHSAT, I was very well prepared for the Marymount Butler exam. And from there, I got the Butler Scholarship, which takes off money off of the $50,000 a year. And because of that, I ended up getting a full ride through high school. So because of that, that's a lot of money off of my parents, and my dad is very grateful for the money that we get to save each year. I decided to choose a Catholic high school as opposed to specialized high school. Personally, for me, I went to Catholic school all my life, so I was more comfortable in a Catholic school environment, especially coming from a Christian family. But I feel that specialized high schools, I just personally didn't like how rigorous, not rigorous, but I didn't like how a lot of the schools had like a set curriculum. I really enjoyed being able to go to a school where the curriculum was more flexible and I could learn certain things that I wanted to, and it was kind of set more to my own pace. And also I preferred the teacher to student ratio. I found that some of the specialized high schools had larger teacher to student ratios, and at my school, the ratio was maybe 1:8. In some of my classes that I take now, I remember last year I had a class that was 2 students and 1 teacher. So that's personally what I preferred about Catholic high schools as compared to specialized high schools. However, specialized high schools are a great option. I have a lot of friends who go to specialized high schools and they really enjoy it. It really depends on the person. I just chose Catholic high schools because I grew up in going to Catholic schools, and that's just what that's just personally what was my cup of tea. So back to the Butler Scholarship. The Butler Scholarship is a great opportunity, and there are tons of different schools that have something very similar. And opportunity that I feel that a lot more parents should take up is applying to independent schools. A lot of people sometimes forget that independent schools in Manhattan are a thing. And I know when I first applied, I thought it was really unattainable going to the school on Fifth Avenue, but it's actually not. It's the opportunity is there and it's free to take it. And so I feel like while you should definitely apply to specialized high schools, don't forget about those other like independent schools that you definitely should apply to. So my school, like I said before, it was the taking the exam, and from there taking an interview process. It was a whole journey, and I can talk about the whole journey in more detail if you want, I guess. So in my 7th grade, I was nominated by my principal to take the Butler exam, which would lead me to getting a Butler scholarship. And from there, I had to take the ICE and then take the Butler exam. And then from there, I had to do an interview. And then from there, I was either accepted in the school with the scholarship or just not accepted in school with obviously no scholarship. So that's basically how the process goes. And a lot of schools are very similar in their process, where you might have to do an interview, you might have to take their own exam, you might have to take the ISEE or CHSEE or the SHSAT, but all the exams are very similar. So if you know one exam well, you'll definitely do well with a different exam. And that's basically like because I went to Kweller Prep, I had the tools to do well on all of these exams and save my parents a lot of money in the end. I guess something else that I can talk about is any other, I guess, independent schools in the city that I'm used to. You have a lot of the schools in the city. You have like Spence. You might also have St. Anne's. You also have there's Spence, which is I believe an all-girls school. Nightingale, Regis, Xavier, schools like those are schools that you definitely should apply to because they do get a lot of endowment money for scholarships, so you definitely should apply. Can you take the Butler exam in 8th grade? I believe that I took the Butler exam in 8th grade. I think it was probably around October, around this time that I was taking the Butler exam. You can take the Butler exam as long as you're nominated or if you nominate yourself. So that's important to remember is you can ask a principal or a school official to nominate you, or you can go to the school and apply there yourself. I'm one of the head ambassadors for my school, so it's very easy I work with the admissions department all the time, and it's very easy to just call them up and say like, hey, I would like to nominate myself for the Butler Scholarship. And the process it's actually a lot easier than what I originally thought when I was first applying. It seemed like a lot of these different exams and application questions, but it's a lot easier thinking about it now compared to the common application that I'm doing now. I actually wish I was doing the Butler exam, the Butler process again instead of the one for Yale that I'm doing now. It's a lot easier, the Marymount one. Also, another thing to mention is that for a lot of these independent schools, don't ever be afraid to apply. I mean, I was first scared of applying, but I feel like you really should apply. It's something that I definitely recommend. And there are a lot of opportunities that a lot of these independent schools have, like travel opportunities, volunteering opportunities, and it's definitely something that you shouldn't shy away from. Are all the scholarships all based on how well you do on the exam? Do you only apply for scholarships after you get your test results back? So the way that it works is, the scholarship isn't based on how well you do on the exam. I guess they do have like a cutoff point. They have like their group of people that did well on the exam, and from there, that's their group of people. And then from there, they do an interview. So I think that the interview really has more, they do it in stages. So like a finalist and like quarterfinalist, that's kind of like the way that it works. But the scholarship isn't based off of how well you do on the exam. But if you do well on the exam, you will go on to the next stage. But the amount of scholarship money you get isn't based off of like how well you do on the exam. Everybody gets the same amount of money in the end, and plus like merit, you'll end up getting like a full. Do you only apply for scholarships? Do you only apply for scholarships after you get your test results back? No, you don't. The whole process is like to get that scholarship money. So you don't actually ever get your test results back. I don't know I don't know how well I did on the exam. They never give it back to you. I mean, I asked before after I was accepted and they were like, no, you're not getting your test results back. So you don't know how well you do on the exam, but they tell you that you go on to the next stage or you don't. If you prepare for the SHSAT, is that enough preparation for the Butler exam? The Butler exam is very similar to the SHSAT. One thing about the Butler exam is that they don't have any templates online of like what it's going to be like. So you walk in there blind and you don't know what the exam is going to be like. However, from experience, I do know that the exam is very similar to the SHSAT in that it has a math section and an English section. However, the Butler exam is much easier than the SHSAT. I feel like the SHSAT is a bit harder than the Butler exam. And so if you prepare for the SHSAT, you should be well prepared for the Butler exam. Is it too late to apply for the Butler exam? I believe it is. Usually the process is from, I believe like September of late like 7th grade. So the process really begins in 7th grade. So if you're in 7th grade, I believe that you might be able to apply now, but if you're in 8th grade, it'd be too late to apply for the Butler exam. Can you share what other application requirements help your application scholarship, letters of recommendation, grades, extracurricular activities, etc.? So for the Butler exam, going back to what my transcript was like in 8th grade, I was an all A student, so that's basically what my transcript looked like. I did have a letter of recommendation, and I had one from an ELA teacher and a math teacher, and I did that just so that I can get a good balance of math and English on my to show the admission board, so that it would just look good and show that I can balance both math and English. As for extracurricular activities, I had a whole slew of extracurricular activities. I did tennis growing up, swimming, and I also believe that I played instruments, and I put that down on my application. So that was something that I had put down on that to kind of bolster my application. There aren't that many application requirements. I feel like it's more of a process of the admissions board is just basically trying to get to know you and see if you're a good fit for the school. So basically, if you basically just put in what you feel like is a good message of like who you are, and I feel like that works out. But it's basically just your transcript, letters of recommendation, your extracurricular activities, and that's about it. Something else that's important to share about the application, about the Butler Scholarship is that even if you don't end up getting the Butler Scholarship, you can still apply to Marymount and still get a lot of scholarship money. I have a friend who did not get the Butler Scholarship because she applied too late, but the school still gave her a lot of scholarship money and financial aid. So that's something that's also important to understand and to remember, is that the school is really willing to give a lot of scholarship money. A lot of these Manhattan schools do get a lot of have a lot of money in endowments, and they're willing to give out a lot of money to students who need financial aid. So that's something that's also very important in remembering when you're applying to these schools. Any other things that I can one other thing is that for extracurricular activities, don't stress out about it. I feel something that admissions board directors always say is that it's not about the amount of clubs that you're in, or if you're president of this club or president of that club, but just showing interest in that club is something that's very important. For example, you don't have to be president of chess club and president of the swimming club, and a lot of schools don't have as many clubs to offer. I know my school didn't have a lot of clubs, but I made up with it in sports. You don't have to worry about, being the leader of this club. It's just worrying about just as long as you're dedicated to whatever you're doing, that's the most important thing. And schools can see that. What high school classes are you taking now last year? So this year I'm taking an engineering course. I am taking AP Statistics, Writers in Residence, which is basically like my school's creative writing course, French 4, and I'm also taking an ethics course. Last year I took AP US History and AP Computer Science Principles, both of which I got a 4 on the AP exam. I also took French 3 last year, and over the summer I took a calculus course at NYU, which I got college credit for, and that was something that definitely helped bolster my college application, which I'm very happy for because it shows that I can keep up with college level work. What advanced classes did you get to take? Basically, in my freshman year, there was only one advanced course that I could take, and it was AP. It was honors algebra 2. In my sophomore year, I took honors global history and honors geometry, and I had chemistry as well, and other language classes as well. Junior year, like I said before, I took APs, and now I'm just, my school doesn't offer that many APs for senior year, just so that we can focus on college applications. The middle school that I attended was St. Mary's Elementary School. It's in Long Island. It's a great school, and I really owe a lot of my success now to that school. And are there any questions about religion on the exam? There aren't any questions about religion on the exam. Even though it's a Catholic school, we actually don't rely a lot on like religion. We do have religion classes, but they're more like world religions classes. So you're learning about other religions and things like that. We do go to mass, but other than that, it's actually not that religious. Back in 8th grade, which test did you feel was the hardest? What part of the test prep was the most helpful? I felt that the SHSAT was the hardest exam, personally, because I had started my journey a bit later. But when I first walked into the exam, I really didn't know what the exam was about. I didn't really know those test prep strategies. But as soon as I got into Kweller, I actually learned how to take the exam and how to do these hard math problems and English problems. And only in probably a couple of months, I ended up getting into a specialized high school. Is the Butler Scholarship specific to the Marymount School, or can you use it for other independent schools? The Butler Scholarship is specific to Marymount. other schools have different scholarships that they might have. I know I got a scholarship for my middle school's high school because I was a student there, and for other high schools because I had done well on the CHSEE. Do you think only Catholic kids should apply to Catholic schools? I don't think that only Catholic kids should apply to Catholic schools. My family is actually Christian, but I'm actually the only one who's not. And I feel like Catholic schools do have a lot to offer, even if you're not Christian. I mean, I don't participate in the mass, or I don't participate in like some of the religious holidays and festivals that they might partake in. However, I really enjoy the education that I get there, and I prefer Catholic schools kind of like the way that the curriculum is. It's kind of set to your own pace and it's more personalized than I feel like a public school would be, as from what I've heard from my friends. How much of your high school experience is dedicated to religion? Not that much. I mean, I am in my school's ministry, but other than that, it's not really dedicated to religion. There's probably 8 classes that you take a year, but you'll have like 3 or 4 periods a day. We break it up into a cycle. This year is different because of COVID-19, but in other years, you have an 8-day cycle. And so the classes alternate every other day. And it's actually I actually prefer that method because it makes doing homework a lot easier. So you have time to dedicate to schoolwork and extracurricular activities. When you later took the SAT and PSAT, did you see any similarities? I did notice a lot of similarities between the SAT and the PSAT. The PSAT is extremely similar to the SAT. It's kind of like, I know my college counselors refer to it as like a prep SAT. And I noticed that those were very similar, but the SHSAT and the SAT are very similar. And I noticed that because of like the way that the format of the exam and some of the questions that you might see on the exam and the topics. However, the SAT is just a little bit more amplified in difficulty. I feel that the SAT kind of puts a lot more focus on like algebra 2, while the SHSAT is more algebra 1 and geometry, because you're not going to learn algebra 2 until later in high school, and trigonometry as well, even though there's just a little bit of trigonometry on the SAT. So those were some of the similarities that I noticed. How diverse did you find Catholic schools for religion, schools, public, private, etc., languages, and so on? Catholic schools, it really depends on which Catholic school that you're going to. My school is somewhat diverse in we have a myriad of different religions and languages that we speak at the school, and you have students from different countries. I have a friend who lived in France for 3 years. I have friends from all over the world. So I do find that sometimes Catholic schools can be diverse, but they are sometimes lacking in students of color. So that's what I feel like Catholic schools definitely need to work on. Public schools, I believe, tend to be more diverse. Private schools are the same as Catholic schools, and they basically need to work on diversities and so on. But as for languages, my schools, we speak a lot of different languages. A lot of students come from different countries. And so that's something that we definitely we put into our curriculum and work on learning those languages and just being a global citizen. Do you need to take the TACHS exam and the HSPT exam to apply for a scholarship to Catholic schools? I took for the TACHS exam, you can, and same for the HSPT. I feel like those exams are more for like getting in, but I feel like if you do well, you can get scholarship money. For the CHSEE, that's also another exam that you can take to get into Catholic schools. That's also another exam. And because I did well on that exam, I did get scholarship money as well. Oof. What texting advice would you give your younger self? I procrastinate a lot. My parents can definitely attest to that. And I feel like I should, if I can give advice to my younger self, definitely put a lot more time studying. I feel like if you work little by little, it's a lot easier than if you wait until last minute to like cram. And also, a testing tool that I use is like when I take an exam, I like to mark down the questions that get wrong and put them in categories and like take the topics. And so I know which topics to work on and like how frequently I got those questions wrong. And it really helps me because then I get to see, okay, this is a topic that I really need to work on. This is something I may need to work on, or maybe I just was just having a bad day or something like that. So that's definitely something that I would that's some testing advice I would definitely give to my younger self. Um, what scholarship advice? I would say for scholarship advice, definitely look up for scholarships because a lot of scholarships are out there. I know that there's a lot of different websites that you can go to for scholarships, and that's something that I would definitely recommend. And knowing the deadlines for these scholarships, and also just like what you might need a lot of recommendation, you might need um, like an essay to apply to that scholarship. So I would definitely say that being on top of your deadlines and getting all of your materials is something that I would definitely recommend for scholarships, and just looking up scholarships and even going to a guidance counselor, or even talking with someone like Francis about like different scholarships. That's definitely some advice I would definitely give. Is my high school academically rigorous? Yes, it is very rigorous. That's kind of what we're known for, is how rigorous our programs are. Um, Basically, we are associated with one of this year, actually, the engineering course that I'm taking is actually partnered up with a college so that I do get college credit at the end of the course, even though it's not an AP class that was like by College Board. And the same thing with a lot of other science classes. My school is one of the top cities in New York State. One of the top schools in New York State. And we show that through the work that we have done with other colleges and the work that we've actually done competing against college students. So I feel like that's something that we definitely really pride ourselves on. What is college prep like? How are you supported in your search and application to college? College prep, well, I can break this down into like two in the idea of college prep, in between like taking the exam and then actually applying. College prep is kind of like, it's very similar to like when you're in 8th grade taking the SHSAT, like knowing what kind of student you are and how you are going to learn, and just taking that time to dedicate to your studies. I think that's something that's very important. As for the actual application part, I wish that I did this a lot earlier. As soon as the Common App drops, you should be working on your supplements. I waited a little too late to work on my supplements, and I think that's something that I should work on, but I got them done with the help of Francis. So definitely just, it's a lot about taking your time and, spending time on those nitty-gritty details because they are very important. How are you supported in your search and application to college? So my school has guidance counselors that do help us, and we do have classes there, but I felt like I wanted more individualized help, and that's why I came to Kweller Prep to help with my college application, because I felt like I've known Frances for a long time, and I know that Frances definitely has my best interests at heart. And I know that she's always going to help me with my college and search and application. So that's why I feel like already having an idea of what you want and what kind of your major is, maybe some things that you're interested in, is definitely how you should, kind of support yourself in the process. But also looking for outside help is something that I would definitely recommend. How did you manage the stress of being an 8th grader and applying to so many Catholic specialized and independent schools? I feel like I really relied on my parents and being at Queller to help with like managing the stress. Um, Looking back at it, it was a blur because I was just so stressed out. Um, but I feel like if you are well prepared, it does eliminate a lot of the stress that you're going to feel, because at the end of the day, you know that if you know that you're ready, you're going to feel ready and you're not going to feel the stress that you do. And that's definitely how I would manage the stress. But also something that I would definitely advise is students, we have a lot of on our plates. So do take time for yourself, and step away from your desk, and maybe just like chill out. But I come from my parents are kind of strict, so they don't really believe in, like, my mom does. My dad more than my mom. But taking a break to step away from your desk and take some time for yourself. Um, does it matter that you do college courses in high school versus AP classes? Okay, AP classes, it's iffy. They do look good on a transcript. However, I feel that AP classes, colleges might not take them. So I feel like it is important to take college courses outside of school. However, AP classes are very, very helpful. Not only do they look good on a transcript, but they do boost your GPA because they're harder classes. And they also do prepare you a lot for college. So I think that's something that's very important. And I would recommend taking AP classes, but also if you can take college courses, you should, because those are definitely credits that they will take. What are scholarship interviews like? How did you prep? So I prepped with my parents, and when I was doing it in 8th grade, when you're a middle schooler, it's not as difficult as like if you're doing interviews for college or for college. Scholarship interviews, sometimes they might ask your family to be there with you as a guide and just help support you. A lot of times they're just trying to get to know who you are and what your family is like. So that's basically what it's like. It's just trying to get to know you. They're not going to throw you any curveball questions or anything like that, but they're really just trying to get to know what student you are. They're trying to highlight what your extracurricular activities are, what your interests are. They want to make sure that you're a well-rounded person. They don't want a student that's just stays at a desk and that's all they do. They also want a student that takes time to help out their community and volunteer. And so that's definitely something that scholarship interviews do want to hear about. So I would definitely prep by finding questions online is very helpful, because those are a lot of the questions that they are going to ask you. So basically that's kind of one way that you can prepare. Are you applying to schools? Okay, schools. So I'm currently applying to Yale. Francis is helping me out with that application. The November 1st deadline is looming, and I hope that I get in. I'm going to speak into existence, and I will get in. And that's one of the schools I'm applying to, but I also I'm planning on applying to Barnard, NYU, probably Penn State, Georgetown. Those are just some of the schools that I'm planning on applying to. What were some interview questions? So I remember my interview like it was yesterday because it was actually a lot of fun. So the interview questions were like, what are some things that you do outside of school? How do you manage stress was one of the questions that I was asked. Describe what your family is like, describe what you are like, how do you study, what are some of your interests? And honestly, they just want to get to know you. So be honest is something I feel like is a very good piece of advice. I am a huge theater nerd, and for my interview, I started rapping the lines to Hamilton, and my interviewer loved it because she's a huge Hamilton fan. So that's actually how I ended up doing really well in the interview. But just being honest about who you are is just something that's like a really good piece of advice. Is the high school and college application process similar? I think that the high school application is a bit easier because they don't want as much information, and they don't expect as much like coursework and course load, stuff like that. Obviously, if you're in a middle school, you're not going to be doing internships. So that's definitely like one thing that makes the high school application a lot easier. College applications, they want letters of recommendation from maybe outside sources as well, instead of maybe like a teacher or two. They want to know about internships, they want to know about volunteering work. So I feel like the college application focuses a lot more on community and volunteering, while the high school is just more about you. What are you planning on majoring in? So I plan on majoring in engineering and political science. I plan on taking a pre-law track, but I decided to major in engineering. That's something that's really important to me, is being a woman of color in STEM. What was the hardest part of getting into a Catholic high school? I would say the hardest part is honestly just managing the stress. I was applying to, and Francis will tell you this, I was applying to probably like 1,000,001 schools. I took every test, applied to every school. And it was just I had a lot of backups for my backups. And that was something that my parents really stressed. So I guess the hardest part was actually just like managing the stress. I feel like if you can do well in the exams, I feel like you'll do fine on in getting into a Catholic high school. The Catholic high schools really rely on those exams, because as a middle schooler, you're not really going to be like a completely well-rounded person as you are going to be when you're 17 or 18 years old. So they just really want to see how well you do on those exams. That's kind of the hardest part, is just, taking time to study for those exams, and it really does pay off. I mean, when I was in middle school and I was applying, I really didn't think that, taking all these exams was really important. And I didn't realize how it was important until I was accepted into school with this $200,000 worth of scholarship money. And so I feel like definitely just taking the time to study and sit down and, work hard is something that's really important, and probably the hardest part of getting into a Catholic high school. When is the deadline to apply for Catholic high schools? So the deadline, I would say, is kind of around this time of year. I remember it was probably like in October, November. So those are like kind of the deadlines to apply to Catholic schools. That was at least my deadline for independent high schools. I would say that for just regular private schools, it's definitely a lot more relaxed than for independent schools. Independent schools, it's a lot more pomp and circumstance with the application. But for Catholic schools, I definitely feel that they're a lot more relaxed about applying. And that's just something that I noticed when I was doing it. But for most schools, it's probably around October, November. So because the deadline is pretty early on in the year, you definitely want to get started on like applications probably like over the summertime. And I remember that was something that was really important for me, was like setting aside that time to work on applications during the summertime, even though it was like my time off. Um, and also these processes do kind of start in seventh grade, like trying to perfect taking the exam. That's definitely a process that you should definitely do pretty much early on. So I feel like definitely just taking that time to set aside is something that I find is really important. Does anyone else have any other questions? I guess I can also talk more about um, some of the extracurricular activities I do in high school now. I have a lot of different hats in my school community. I work with my my school musical production. I'm in a cultural club, Black Girls Rock, Model UN, model mock trial. I also do volunteer work outside of school, working with a food pantry, and I've worked for 4 politicians in the city over the past 3 years. I also do a lot of that's part of like community outreach, and and also I do a lot of different like admissions events and school spirits things for my school community. Is it true if you go in private high school, you won't get scholarships in college? So I feel like this is kind of like a myth that a lot of people believe, is that you won't get scholarships in college if you go to private high school. I know that a lot of private high schools do give out like financial aid and scholarship money. So because of that, colleges are not going to say, well, because you went to a private high school, you won't get scholarship money. It's really about applying and just like being there with a guidance counselor and saying like, look, I need scholarship money. And so like working with them to apply for scholarships. Looking back, would you change anything in your journey? Um, Honestly, I wouldn't change anything in my journey. I feel like all the bumps in the road that you feel and just kind of like being annoyed that your friends are going out while you're staying at home studying, it definitely pays off. So I honestly wouldn't change anything. Do you still live in Long Island? And if so, how is the commute? My commute is 2 hours. Um, yeah. Yeah, I live in Queens and my school's in Manhattan. So I leave the house at 6 in the morning and I get to school around like 7:45 most days. Um, and which is why I decided to stay remote for this semester, next semester, to avoid that long commute. And then getting home is just a lot harder because of the traffic in the city. But it's worth it considering that I don't have to pay for high school, so my dad's fine with it. Just to clarify, the deadline to apply for Catholic schools is November of 8th grade, correct? Although, yes. So the deadline to apply for Catholic schools is like November of 8th grade, but the Butler Scholarship, it is in 7th grade because that's when you are first notified that you have been chosen as a Butler Scholar to take the exam at least. So that's something that you should be aware of. How do you find it hard to manage time? Sometimes I do. I do find it hard to manage time sometimes because of my commute is 2 hours. So that's kind of a lot of time wasted. Um, but I managed to do sports and do stuff within my school community. And I do use a lot of my weekends to do community service. I use my summers to do community service. During my school day, I do a lot of my club activities. So I feel like it is the most important part is like finding that time. And if you really love something, you'll find the time to manage and, be a part of different clubs. Something that I guess going back to the question, if I would do anything different, I think I wouldn't have as many hats in my school community. I feel like I kind of went overboard. I feel like it's something that, find things that you're really dedicated to. And I feel like that's something. Can you recommend other Catholic schools? Some Catholic schools that I would recommend, um, I guess it depends. In the city, there's Catholic schools in the city, Catholic schools in Brooklyn, Catholic schools in Long Island. Catholic schools that I would definitely recommend in Long Island, St. Mary's High School is a definitely a good one. That's the middle school, the high school of the middle school that I went to. So I would definitely rep them. I would definitely, you have boys, boys schools. So you have like Chaminade, and those are some of the schools that I would recommend. I have heard of Mercy, Sacred Heart, and those are just some of the schools off the top of my head that I've heard are really good Catholic schools. In the city, definitely Spence. Sacred Heart is another really, really good one in the city. Marymount, of course. Um, Nightingale, Regis, Xavier, all of those schools. Those are really, really good schools, and I would definitely recommend them because they really do. Trinity is also another one, which is another really good school to apply to. And those are just some of them off the top of my head. Those are really good schools to apply to, and I definitely recommend them because of how rigorous the courses are, but also at the same time how they happen to just manage extracurriculars and schoolwork. And that's something that I find is really important because you don't want to find yourself in senior year or junior year swamped with like college stuff and at the same time like homework. So I feel like that's something that's really important, and just taking time to, I feel like something that's really also important when you're applying to high schools is asking like how much the workload is. I feel like that's something that's a very important question. And just seeing how they manage with like, you know, workload and how they manage with the college process. I feel like those are very important things to discuss when you're applying to schools.
Everyone, I want to give Mia a huge, gigantic thank you. So you can go off mute and you can say thank you to Mia for being amazing, sincere, unrehearsed. This is someone who said, okay, I'll help the kids and I'll help the parents. And there was just no script. I really want to give you a huge thank you, Mia. You presented in front of 25 people at Peak, and I am beyond thrilled and honored that you were able to share your journey and your experience. It's really cool to see you have come full circle. You're now applying to college, so not applying to high school anymore. One of the parents wrote that you were very inspirational. Absolutely, I'm inspired also. All right, and we're watching a full circle happen. So it's a really cool live moment. I want to just remind all of the parents who are listening, keep your options open. You don't have to be Catholic to apply to Catholic school. Some, not all. So just remember, keep everything open, apply widely, apply to every single school, see what the options are. And after you have your acceptances, you can make up your mind and you can decide what you want to do. Right now is a time to apply and to see what and where your child can go. So everyone, please feel free to go off mute. Give me a huge thank you.
Thank you very much. Great program. Thank you, Mia.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mia.
guys.
You're the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mia, for your help and support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good
Congratulations
luck
on all
to
of
you.
your
Thank you.
achievements. Very
Mia,
impressive.
you're an example. You're an example to follow. Thank you.
She's 17, right, Mia? 17? Mia's
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yale will be lucky to have you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so nice.
Thanks also, Francis. Thank you for putting this together.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right, so we're good. And that's it. If you have any questions, Mia is also teaching the HSPT review. We're going to go through that exam little by little. It's a 2-day cram before the HSPT. And that's it. It's really cool. Oh, Mia, this is such an exciting chapter we get to have together. Mia is a teacher. Mia's a mentor. Mia's wearing a blue t-shirt. That you are part of the team. Who would have ever thought, right? 5 years ago, when she first started test prep, look at where we are right now. So everyone, thank you. And thank you for listening. And that's it. And please make sure to support our programs. Many of our tutors are also former students. They all want jobs. This is a paying job. So just remember that we hope that you encourage and support the staff that's here and they want to work. So keep that in mind. Everyone, feel free to say your final thank yous. Thank you for these beautiful messages. I'll take some screenshots actually, Mia, so that you have some memories. I'll do it right now before we log off, okay? Let me see my little chat, okay? Wow, they wrote that you're an example, one of the parents wrote, okay? So thank you guys. We're gonna be closing up in just a moment, okay? We have it. Got it, Mia. I got all the cute screenshots, so we have a memory. Okay. All right, everyone. I'm going to hit end meeting. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.